Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So first of all, let me just say sorry. Please try to ignore the mess in the background. It's been a hectic week. Today's video is going to be my wrap-up video. I'm going to share all the books that I read in November with you guys and just give you thoughts about what I thought about them. You guys know what a wrap-up is. Why am I explaining this? As a lot of you guys know, I was actually participating in NaNoWriMo last month, which is actually a part of the reason why I didn't really upload as much as I wanted to for the last couple of weeks. Part of it was because of a couple books that I'm going to share with you guys right now that I kind of got really into, that put me really behind on Nano, and then I had to catch up, so I kind of had to not put up as many videos on this channel afterwards. But then also just I got really sick at the end of the month, and you know how there's those people who like they'll get really sick for like a day or two, on the third day they're back to normal, like nothing ever happened. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. If I'm sick, I'm down for at least 2 weeks, and that's kind of what's been happening. I'm barely starting to feel better. I still have a little bit of cough, but generally speaking, I'm a lot better than how I was. So yeah, there's been a lot of things, but I'm back to making videos and I'm very, very excited about it. But anyway, let's get started on the books that I read last month. The first 4, or I guess 3 books that I read this month were rereads, and these books, guys, I'm very, very excited about. The whole the whole Lunar Chronicles, well, with the exception of Fairest, because I didn't have a chance to get to Fairest, but that's fine. I read Fairest a couple months ago, so it was still pretty fresh in my mind. If you do not know, this series is one of my favorite series that I have read this year. They're definitely going to go in my 2015 favorites. Absolutely adore them. I do have a video where I talk about these first 3 books, and I will link it up there for you guys. But I also got my hands on Winter, and not only did I get my hands on Winter, I actually met Marissa Meyer. I went up to San Francisco to her event, and I got all of my books signed actually, but let me show you guys this one. She was really funny. She recounted like the original Snow White tale, and she told us a little bit about the next book that is coming out from her, which sounds amazing. It's a prequel of Alice in Wonderland from the Evil Queen's perspective, so from the Red Queen. And if you guys have read Fairest, you know that she's really good at giving you the backstory for the villain. So I'm very, very excited about it. For Fairest, you really got to understand why Levana became the way she became. Like, you didn't necessarily forgive her or feel bad for her, at least I didn't. Well, I did feel bad for her a little bit, but after a certain point it was like, no. So because of that, I'm very, very excited about the book that she's gonna release. I think she said it comes out next year sometime. I forget what she said. I'll put all the information that I can in the bottom bar. She was lovely. I actually got to talk to her, which is really nice because like I'm not good at talking to people. It might not seem like it from videos, but you guys have to realize that I'm like sitting alone in my room talking to a camera. But like when I actually talk to people, like I'm really awkward, I'm pretty shy. The only other author that I've ever met was Veronica Roth, and for Veronica Roth I was very, very excited. And I remember like because I was really late, so I was really behind in the line, and the whole time I was in the line I was thinking up of like, I'm gonna tell her this, I'm gonna tell her this, I'm gonna tell her this and this and this. And then when I actually got to be in front of her, I just handed her my book, and then I just stared at her awkwardly, and then she looked up at me like, I guess she expected me to say something to her, and I was just like, thank you, and I walked off. So yeah, I honestly don't remember what I said to Marissa Meyer. I just know that I talked to her, and that's what counts, I think. Anyway, so these 3 books, absolutely adored them. You guys know this. Okay, moving on. Winter. I really, really liked it. It's a really, really long book. It's like over 800 pages. However, I will say it didn't drag. There was constantly something happening. They were constantly doing something, so it didn't really feel like it was 800 pages, but it was 800 pages. It took me like a full 2 days to read. I really liked it. I like where it was going. I did think that maybe the conclusion left a little to be desired for me, particularly with what happened to Levana. Otherwise, I absolutely loved it. I loved all my ships. All of the ships in this series are so good, and I loved every single one of them. There are some questions left unanswered. There are a few things that are kind of open a little bit, but I don't really mind it as much, I guess, mostly because there is going to be a collection of short stories that is going to be released early on next year, which I'm very, very excited about. Just generally speaking, I really, really like this. I thought it was a really solid end. Part of me does kind of wish that this was divided into 2 books, where we could have gotten one that was like Winter, where we focused solely on Winter's story, like the Snow White story, as it has been like for all the other ones, because this did feel like it was Winter's story, but at the same time it was like the rebellion. So part of me does kind of wish that it was like book 4 was focused on Winter and her story, and then book 5 was like all these characters coming together to stopping Queen Lavanna and this. But again, it's like a very small part of me, and then the rest of me just really, really enjoyed this. I really, really like this. I love the series. I love the diversity in it. The characters are fantastic. How Marissa Meyer manages to make these stories that we're so familiar with new again, as she puts her own twist on them in a way that it makes sense to the story, makes sense to the characters. I absolutely adored this series. One of my all-time favorites, and I'm really, really glad that I got to meet Marissa. So yeah, highly, highly recommend this series if you have not, you know, if you haven't realized that already. It's one of my favorites, and I highly, highly recommend it. And then the last book that I read in November is Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this surrounds the children of the gods, and some of them are pureblood, some of them are half-blood. The purebloods are the people who are born with like godlike powers. They have all these special abilities, and the half-bloods have not. And for the half-bloods, they really have 2 options in the world, which is to either train and serve as guards and soldiers for the purebloods, or become their servants, which is not a good idea at all, because they give them a potion that kind of just takes away all their willpower, and they are taken advantage of a lot. So most people would rather be a soldier or a guard. It surrounds a girl named Alexandria who decides she wants to become a guard. She doesn't want to become a servant. So it's kind of her story about that. And because it is Jennifer L. Armentrout, there is a very sexy, very charming, very swoon-worthy romance. It was really, really addictive. I do feel like it's one of those books where you can kind of just zoom through it all, and it is pretty short, and I liked it enough. I didn't completely fall in love with it, I'll say that. I thought that it was a really interesting take on this like hematoi type of mythology. I've heard a lot of people compare this to Vampire Academy, and I can see where they're coming from, because they do have a very similar tone, and obviously they do kind of surround, you know, hematoi, even though the Vampire Academy is really kind of like vampires and this is gods. Basically, if you enjoyed Vampire Academy, I think that you would enjoy this, but I don't think that they're similar enough for like some of the critiques that I've heard of this series. It's just one of those books where like I really enjoyed it. I like where the story is coming from, and I do want to continue on with the series, but it's not like on my priorities list. That is it, guys. Those are all the books that I read this month or last month. So if you guys have read any of the books that I mentioned, please be sure to leave your thoughts down below. So that is going to be it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys. Today we're going to talk about my disappointing books.